Hi friends, my name is Lane. I am a merch designer and illustrator, and in this week's video, we will be designing 3 clown possums based on weather. And we'll be making a final illustration with all of them, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. So I started off with some rough sketches. I knew going into it that I wanted to do 3 different characters, and I decided to start off by doing just the rough outline of them, as well as assigning general vibes to them because I want each one to be sort of unique in their personalities. So the first was kind of just generic, and then the second I went in trying to make this guy a little sad and anxious. I then circled back to the first design and decided to make him kind of the polar opposite and make him happy, which left the third kind of being in the middle of the two, but in the first pass she was just kind of smiling. I then got the idea to combine this trio with weather, so I assigned a different weather type to each of them. The happy one is sunny, the sad anxious one is rainy, and then the one in the middle is cloudy. I then hopped over to Pinterest to try to figure out their outfits because I knew I wanted each one to be kind of visually distinct versus each wearing kind of the same uniform. Now that I had names for them, it was going to be a lot easier, so Sunny obviously is based around the sun. So I decided to give him a kind of triangular ruffle around his arms and neck to kind of mimic the traditional way you might draw a sun, especially as a kid. Cloudy, I gave her very round circular ruffles, like a cloud. With Rainy, I went with kind of droopy raindrop looking collar, and then I decided to use the pattern in his outfit to really bring the rain aspect home. I went back to Cloudy and I gave her kind of a cloud skirt. She has a little triangle hat with clouds on it, like on the top and in the middle. Rainy got a very droopy triangular hat with 2 points. And then trying to find Sunny's hat was pretty hard. In the sketch, I just went with the traditional triangle. And after that, it was time to slap in some color. This was by far the most fun, trying to figure out what colors would go with each one. Sunny was obviously going to be very warm-toned, yellow, orange. Rainy, very blue. Cloudy was kind of the one I was iffy on. So I definitely decided to do her pretty much last. Originally, I was going to do orange and blue for Sunny, but I did go back on that. With Rainy, I went with blues and purples. I really wanted to hammer in a kind of indigo vibe for him. Cloudy, I ended up going with a very, very pastel pink and blue, which I am so happy with. I'm like really happy with how all of their designs turned out. I think the colors are really good and the design elements are good and they work together well. Once I had the rough ideas, it was time to start filling in the actual sketches. Originally, you can see here Sunny's overalls were going to be blue, and I think it definitely could have worked, but I do like the direction I ended up going. I decided to do a split dye with Rainy's outfit, and I just love how this one looks. I think that the combo of color and pattern variation just looks so good. I ended up going 1/2 with lines and then 1/2 with dots, and then Cloudy was kind of the one that wasn't as clear to me because obviously clouds are just white, and I ended up going with a little bit more of an abstract color palette with her with the pink and the blue, but I think it ended up really nice. Since Sunny was a happy character, I decided to go back to Cloudy and make her kind of more ambivalent, kind of not happy or sad. It was at this point, looking at them all together, that the blue on Sunny kind of just stood out, so this is where I swapped him over to a red-pink. But with that done, I decided to make a full illustration with them. I did not have the recording of me doing the rough sketch for the illustration. I accidentally deleted the canvas that had the recording on it, so we're kind of just jumping in with the final line art here. I decided to give each one kind of a clown job. So Sunny is a performer. He's on top of a circus ball, and he has a spotlight on him that mimics the sun. As you can see, he adores and loves the spotlight. Out of the 3 of them in this illustration, this one was probably the easiest. Something about the posing just worked really well for me. After that, we moved on to Cloudy, and she is a aerial performer. I thought that would work really well with her being based on clouds because she would be high up in the air and there would be little cloud props hung up there with her. And you know, she is not a huge fan of the spotlight, a little nervous, but kind of in a way that doesn't bother her. But she's just really focused on doing her job. Trying to layer her with the ring was very fun. I like the movement in her and how like circular her pose is. I just think the idea of like her performance is cute. After that, we have Rainy. His pose was kind of the hardest out of the three because he is posed in a way that's kind of closed off, but also jerky because he's scared. His performance is that he is a lion tamer, which is probably not the best job for the most anxious clown. So here he is very timidly trying to feed the lion. Then moving on to the lion itself, his name is Stormy. He is literally a storm cloud who is a lion. He has little lightning bolt whiskers and clouds surrounding him at all times. He really is the perfect match for Rainy. Rainy is just a little too scared to realize that. But Stormy literally has no interest in like eating him. Here I'm including some last details in the line art, like putting a sun at the end of Sunny's little hat, as well as trying to figure out this like sunlight spotlight, which the perspective and angle was a little bit tough. But after that, it was time for my favorite part, the colors. This is a piece where I really went out of like my color comfort zone. I mean, I do generally try to paint and draw with different colors, but it normally skews pastel. Very rarely do I go dark and moody, but I knew that would fit these guys best. Plus it would make them pop the most. I started off with the flat colors, doing their fur and face since that was the same across the board, as well as changing Rainy's hat a tiny bit. And then I went in kind of just filling in the colors based on what I did right from the sketch, which saved me a ton of time, obviously. I was considering changing Cloudy's name to Stratus. I would love to hear which one you prefer. I think I'm going to stick with Cloudy just because it fits in with the three the most, but I do like the idea anyways. This will be a print in the shop. I think for my October shop update, that is when I've been doing like kind of spacey themed ones, and I feel like weather would fit that, so it'll be a bit, but expect this to be a print around that time. Stormy's colors were a little hard to figure out. I'm not sure why I super struggled with it, but I did have a little bit of color blocking from the original sketch of this piece, which I did use kind of as a base, though I did end up making the grays I used in him a little bit more cool toned because in the original it was a bit warm and kind of stood out. I also added like blue tone to his paws and mouth, and then lightning bolts out of his mane, which I think really ties it in. It makes him match Sunny better and overall fit the trio a bit more. Then it was time to color in all of the objects, which didn't have set colors, although this one wasn't too bad. I just kind of based it on the trio's existing colors, like Clouds are just based on her outfit, same with Sunny's ball, etc. So overall, this part of the piece was pretty straightforward. It definitely helped that I did make 2 other pieces featuring these guys. Nothing too extensive, it's just 2 button designs with Cloudy and Rainy, but it did help me like nail down the details, at least in those 2's outfit and like their patterns and stuff. So I'm really glad I did that before jumping straight into a piece like this. And now we're starting on my favorite part, especially with this piece, the shading. Like I mentioned before, this color scheme is a bit different than what I normally do. It's very moody, and so I was so excited to jump into the shading on this, to really see how far I could push that moodiness. But I started off easy with just shading their faces and their outfit. It was really the background where things started to get kicked up a notch. I ended up going with a purple background specifically because I thought it kind of tied them all in enough while still having that circus dark moodiness. I do end up changing it a tiny bit once I get there, but I can't emphasize enough how happy I am with the end result. Now moving into the background, here is where I decided to make the wall a different color than the floor. I started off with a red color, but then I went with dark purple and then just added a gradient. And then I added some lines, kind of like circus tents are usually depicted having. I think my color choice for the background in general worked out so well. Like the red and purple gradient is genuinely chef's kiss. Then I circled back to the lion, Stormy, and then I decided to start on his shading, which since it's mostly grays was extremely straightforward. Then I moved on to the little white highlights. Drawing these against super dark backgrounds is always the most fun because it just pops so much. And in general, I think it fits this piece and its vibe so well. If you guys have any like headcanons for these three, I would love to hear what they are. I definitely am still thinking about their characterization. I don't have much in mind at the moment other than the very basic personality traits of happy, sad, and ambivalent. Also, if there are any products you'd like to see with these guys, or like scenarios you want me to draw them in, let me know that as well, because I am always open to suggestions, especially for stuff like that. So far for the October update, it'll be a print of this and then that aspiring clown and clown in training, the 2 buttons. And then maybe some kind of sticker set, I'm not totally sure. This print will either be shimmer or hollow, I'm not sure which of the 2 I'm gonna go with. I definitely need to think about it. But I'm so excited to see how it's gonna turn out, even though I'm gonna have to wait so many months at this point to see the final result. And then at this point I started to put in some final details, starting with the shading of like them interacting with the environment, kind of just pushing that moodiness even more. I decided to add some detail in the backgrounds by adding some light pink stars to kind of hammer in that weather spacey vibe, especially since cloudy is literally like in the sky. And then I just added a few specks to the ground and resized the piece overall. And at this point I decided to play around with a little bit of like special effects lighting, especially on Stormy since like he literally has lightning bolts, so I made those an addition layer. Same with like the spotlight in the ceiling. And yeah, at this point the piece is totally done. Here is the final. Thank you guys so much as always for watching and supporting me here. Any comments, likes, subscribing, like it means so much. And overall my uploads have been a little bit shorter than I would like. I would ideally like to make 30-minute videos approximately or longer, but a few of these have been like around 10 minutes. But I am deep into convention prep right now. By the time you're seeing this, I will be just about done with Tidewater Comic Con. And then I have Animazement the next weekend, so hopefully once I get through May, I can dedicate a little more time to posting. Anyways, that's all. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next one.